So welcome back guys to another video at my YouTube channel Study Abroad Academy. My name is Shikhar. You can also follow me on Instagram at studyabroad_academy, where I share information about scholarships, university facts and some private accommodation in UK. So if you are planning to come to UK, please make sure you check my Instagram page out. So in today's video, we're going to talk about placement year, also known as sandwich year courses. And we're going to discuss about what is the placement year, what is the structure, how much salary you earn, and what happens if you don't get placement over here. So please make sure if you're planning to come for a sandwich course, you watch this video, and let's begin without any delay. Most of the students from countries like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal opt for a sandwich course, that is 2 years masters or 4 year of undergrad, in hope that they'll able to get extra year of living in UK, and they'll also get experience before they graduate, which is a good thinking. Even I thought before coming over here. So when I came, I also opted for a placement year, and successfully I was able to get a placement in an American company called Power Objects. That took a lot of my time and hard work and mental breakdowns for applying, but once I got it, it was all worth it. First thing is the application process. So for placement year, the application process is completely same for what it is for graduate jobs. You have to do an online application, and you have to do after that online test, then interviews, assessment center and everything. So if you haven't seen my video about the application process for grad jobs, please go and have a look, because the application process for placements is also the same. Now let's talk about the structure. For the undergrad, the placement year is between the year 3 and year 4. So you do year 1 of studying, year 2 of studying, and then in year 3, you do your placement year, then you come back to university and you do your final year of study. But whereas in masters, you do your 1 year of study and then you go for placement, you come back, you just get your degree, and then after that you start your jobs, graduate jobs if you've got any. Okay, and the timeline for applying is in September. The application open for placements also in September, a year in advance. So if you're applying for next year placement, you have to apply from this year September. Next point is how to get it. So I know many of you would be thinking that if it's a placement year, university would help you, or university will provide you getting a placement, as it's the same system in India that companies come to university campus and they do job interviews and they pick students from the campus. But over here, it is not like that. The universities wouldn't help you wouldn't provide you the placement. They will definitely help you in editing your CV, preparing a cover letter, or advertising placements, or even practicing your interviews. But finding a placement is completely your responsibility. So you need to go on company's website, you need to check on career websites of university. Over there, whichever placement you are interested, you have to apply by yourself, and if you don't get it, the university is not responsible for your placements. You can generally find placement or local placements like around the region and everything on university's career website. And you can also find all the other placement on the website called Rate My Placement. So I'll put the description of the website Rate My Placement in my link. If you want to check out the job description and salaries for Rate My Place for the placement years, you can go and have a look. Over there, you can also find internships if you are interested. So next thing is salary. In salary, generally the placement year students are paid a little bit less than what a graduate salary is over here. So placement salary varies between £14,000 to £25,000. Only there are few investment banks or law firms who pays a little bit more than £25,000, but they are less than 1%. But generally, your salaries vary from £40,000 to £25,000, which is less than a grad scheme. So the next point is fees. Generally, in universities over here, when you are doing a placement here, you have to pay a specific amount of fees because you are a student and you're using university resources. Fees is not high as what you're paying for the normal year. Like normal year fees is between 15 to 20,000 pounds for a year, but in a placement year you pay a fees of around 1,000 to 2,000 pounds a year, but you still have to pay it because you're a student. Now coming on to the next point, that is how difficult it is to find a placement over here. So placements over here can be very difficult to find sometimes because only big employers gives you the placement, and for every placement, like if you compare placements with graduate jobs, so for every 10 graduate jobs, a company offer one placement generally. So if a company is offering 20 grad jobs, they'll just offer 2 placement, whereas 30 grad jobs, they'll offer 3 placements. So the ratio is 1:10. So which makes it quite competitive because there are less placements offered by a company and there are a lot of students who are applying for it. So that's why sometimes it can be very difficult to get a placement, even harder than to get a job. Now let's discuss, is it advantages or is it the placement here having a disadvantage? So first let's talk about undergrad students. So I believe, in my point of view, for undergrad students, it is very advantageous to do a placement year because before going in your final year, you will have a UK based work experience, which is quite important and comes quite handy. And you will, if you're applying for your jobs in your final year after your graduation, your CV would stand out as compared to the other candidates because you'll have a work experience, a relevant work experience, or not relevant also, but you'll have a UK based work experience as compared to other candidates who wouldn't be having a work experience. So you'll have better chances of getting a job. And plus also you would know in your final year that whether you like to work in the specific field or not. So for example, if you have done a placement year in sales or in HR because you like to study about business or marketing or something, so if you've done something like that and you don't like to do a placement, you didn't like a placement year over there because you didn't like the job and how it is, so you would know when you after your graduation, when you apply for full-time jobs, that you don't want to go in this particular field because you have got a work experience and you didn't like it and you want to try something new in your life. But whereas if you are happy with your placement year and you are definitely sure that this is what you want to do with your life, then you can apply for the same type of jobs and it will give you more exposure also if you have done a placement year and at a very young age. Okay, now let's talk about the master student. I believe, in my point of view, for master student, it's not a good advantage for the students because you apply for the placement at the same time when other students are applying for grad jobs, because you do master's placement after end of your studies. Okay, so when other students are applying for grad jobs, you're applying for placement. So whereas placement is much more competitive and they're paid like way less, but the application process and everything is still the same. So for the amount of same hard work and same application process you are doing, a candidate, your competitor from another student from university is also doing that, but for that you will be paid a little bit less and you will face more competition. So that's what I think. If you are doing a master's, why don't you apply directly for grad schemes instead of applying for placement? And you don't need to worry about living or staying back over here because you are getting your PSW over here, so you don't need to worry about that thing also. So last point is what happens if you can't find a placement over here. So a lot of students who come, especially international students over here, when they come, they can't find placement over here. Many British students and European students also can't find placement because they are very competitive and sometimes more difficult to get. So what happens if you can't find placement here is that your degree is changed to a normal degree without a placement. So if you're doing a sandwich course of 4 years in undergrad, if you don't get a placement by a specific date that university has given you, you would be directly changed into 3-year course. And whereas if you're doing a master, if you can't find a placement, you'll be directly like changed into 1-year course. And university also informs the UK visa, that's UK visa immigration, that your course has been changed and from 4 years to 3 years. So your visa would be also reduced from 4 years to 3 years, or from 2 years to 1 year. So students who are thinking, or agents who are telling them that you can go and do a placement here and you'll get an extra year. So if you don't get a placement over here, your visa would also be reduced over here. So please make sure of that. Don't listen to agents who are telling you these false information. So जो लोग सोच रहे हैं कि वो रह पाएंगे यहाँ पे, वो चीज completely गलत है. That's completely wrong. You won't be able to live if you won't be able to extend your visa if you don't get your placement. So that's it for today, guys. I hope you find this a little bit useful. And if you like my content, please click on subscribe button and like button. And if you have any feedback or any suggestion, please feel free to comment below.